beloved Southern California radio icon is the newest star of Internet radio, live and interactive. Here's Marc Germain, heard exclusively on TalkRadio1.com.
8 o'clock in Los Angeles. This is TalkRadio1.com, and I am Marc Germain. Broadcasting live every weeknight from 8 to 10 p.m. Pacific, 11 to 1 Eastern. Coming up on tonight's show, the Gossip Mom will have the latest celebrity gossip. That's coming up in just a few minutes. And also on tonight's show, Luke Ford from LukeFord.net. Luke Ford is a blogger. He is famous for two things: his Spartan lifestyle and turning gossip into news. And we welcome Luke Ford to Talk Radio 1. Hello, Luke.
Hi, Mark. How are you?
I was reading something about you today. I was actually doing some research. I found out you and I share the same birthday.
May 28th?
Yes, but I'm 67, you're 66, so you're a year older than me.
Wow. Do you believe there's any credibility in astrology?
Not at all.
Okay.
Do you?
I'm agnostic, but tend to be skeptical.
Well, you think...
I find it amusing.
I mean, if you just think about it, though, that the idea that the stars... and the planets might be in a certain way when people are born. I mean, there were a lot of people that were born on Hitler's birthday, but it doesn't mean that they become or have share characteristics or traits of Adolf Hitler.
Right. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
So then why are you agnostic on it?
Because there are a lot of things like that in life that it's just easy to be agnostic. Things that I don't understand that that are harmless and that I mean, for instance, I'm friends with this woman who writes true crime novels, Aphrodite Jones, and she seems to write not novels, but true life crime. And she seems to write that when someone dies in a room or is murdered in a room, that they leave some sort of presence or aura. And that rationally doesn't make any sense to me, but I guess, again, I'm agnostic, they're skeptical. So.
Well, this has actually come up on the show. In fact, I think we were talking about this last week. Would you live in a house where someone was murdered? And my answer is, if the house is a bargain, you bet I'll live there. It won't bother me a bit. I mean, I wouldn't want to live in a high-crime neighborhood, but if it was a random crime or if it was, a husband killed his wife and he's now in prison for life, would I live in O.J. Simpson? First of all, would I live in O.J. Simpson's house, which has since been razed? But would I have lived there? You bet. If I could get a good deal on a place in Brentwood, I'm there. So I don't believe that spirits inhabit the places where... everywhere death has taken place. I'm sure the soil that you're standing on at one time, a Tyrannosaurus Rex killed a Triceratops, right?
Right. You don't think there's any validity to the supernatural?
Not at all. No, I'm way too rational for all that. Which I'm glad that we're having this conversation. This is an interesting way for us to get into something that I know is a big part of your life. You converted to Judaism 15 years ago.
Correct. And it is a big part of my life.
Yeah. You're Orthodox.
Yes.
And you keep kosher.
Yes.
And what's interesting is I was born the son of Jewish parents, but my parents were not religious. We had a Christmas tree at my house. That's how religious Jews we were. But we were proud of being Jewish, and if you asked me to fill out a form and ask me what religion I am, I would say that I am Jewish by ethnicity, not by faith. I don't practice the Jewish faith. But in the eyes of rabbis, for example, especially Orthodox rabbis, I'm more Jewish than you are, but you've done much more to convert to Judaism. You've done much more. In 1 month of your conversion, you did more than I've ever done in my life. Yet just because my mother is Jewish, I'm considered full Jew.
Yeah, well, I'm joining a tribe, so all tribes have their idiosyncrasies and their borders and barriers to entry, and I mean that's the way it goes. I grew up a WASP, White Anglo-Saxon Protestant, and becoming Jewish has given me much more sympathy for the tribal view of life, which before seemed to me really anachronistic and outdated and primitive.
Well, as someone who's done the conversion, I know, not having done it, how difficult it is. Jews don't proselytize. Jews don't really want converts. In fact, Jews go out of their way to make it difficult for people like you to become Jewish. And I always wonder, what is it that drives you to want to do something that, it's like the old Woody Allen joke, I wouldn't want to be a member of a group that would have me as a member. Why did you work so hard to be involved in a religion that didn't really want you?
I found that attractive in a perverse way, that they weren't out there proselytizing. I was raised a Seventh-day Adventist who were very heavy proselytizers, so I actually had more respect for a religion that wasn't proselytizing me and didn't say I had to become Jewish to be saved. And then personally, I was very personally moved by Dennis Prager, the talk show host and author. I used to have a lot of arguments with him on his radio show, and I exchanged correspondence with him, and so I was very personally touched by his example. And I just believe it's true. I believe that it contains divine truth, and it works for me. I was just beginning a new therapy regime tonight, and I was telling the therapist that if you just go by entirely non-religious reasons, my conversion to Judaism is the single best decision I've ever made, because it's such a intellectually exciting and fulfilling way of life, even if you don't believe in God. I do believe in God, but just looking at it from a rational, secular human perspective, it's been such a profound ride.
How is it that did you explore other religions before you explored Judaism? For example, who knows, maybe Scientology has the answers for you, or Buddhism, or Hinduism. How do you know Judaism was the right path?
I did some exploration in the sense that I would always talk to people who are religious. I was raised very religious, so I always had an interest in religion. Then I basically left it in my teens and just started talking to people and trying to understand different points of view. Never thought I'd go back to being religious. And then just the profound truth of Judaism as a step-by-step detailed system for making a better world is what profoundly moved me.
You said you were born Seventh-day Adventist. They're Christians, I that much I know. Yes. So you reject the story of Christ? Do you believe Christ was a man? Do you believe, Christ, after all, in the Christ of the New Testament was a Jew? Was a rabbi.
Yeah, well, so was Karl Marx was a Jew too, and I'm no longer into communism, though I did have a flirtation with it for a couple of years. No, I think it's nonsense. The unique beliefs of Christianity don't make any sense to me whatsoever. I was raised with them, and I can't stand them.
You mean the idea of a virgin birth and the idea of water into wine and transubstantiation, all that is what bothers you?
Well, yeah, that bothers me, but not nearly as much as the fundamental belief of Christianity, which is not belief in Jesus, really. It's belief that what you believe is more important than what you do. I just find that so repellent on every different level. The notion that some mass murderer could ask God for forgiveness, and then he'd be forgiven of all his sins. Again, I find that absolutely morally repellent. Mm-hmm. And so these fundamental distinguishing characteristics of Christianity I find repellent.
But there's a place for forgiveness, right?
Yeah, there is a place for forgiveness, but just because, after you've murdered a bunch of people and then suddenly, you go to God and say, oh, I'm sorry, I don't buy it. And I don't believe that mass murderers, just because they do some kind of deathbed confession, get off. And like the Judaism holds that if you hurt someone, God can't forgive you. You have to get forgiveness from the person you hurt. So that's very different from the Christian idea of you just, go to Jesus. And, I just find that morally repugnant.
Do you believe in heaven and hell and the devil and that kind of stuff?
I don't believe in the devil, and Judaism doesn't believe in any being with supernatural power outside of God, but I do believe in reward and punishment, which is the language that the Jews use more than.
But Jews talk about reward and punishment here on earth, not in heaven, and not deep in the pits of the core of the earth, the hot magma of the earth.
I think that's actually a misconception. If you go to the Encyclopedia Judaica, which is the crowning work of secular Jewish scholarship in the last 50 years,